Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel for another video on Marvel Contest of Champions. This one, oh dear, I don't know why I'm making this, but screw it. It's covering the champions, even though there may not be champions that people necessarily like. We are indeed doing a video on Joe Fixit. No, I'm not kidding. I'm really not kidding. We're doing a video on Joe Fixit. And it's all stemmed from a forum post as well as a discussion from the One Master Gamer who said like the most forgotten champion. It's like, well, you forget. What are we labeling this as? The most forgotten champion? Most forgotten in the sense of currently you can use in general. And the answer was the old version of Captain Marvel, which, you know, okay, that was a thing. But a lot of people did say, as I said, Joe Fixit, pretty forgotten. And this then got me thinking whether or not there was any synergies that have been recently done that allow him to get any more or better damage output. There's something, but it's not exactly brilliant. By the way, go to marvelsynergy.com to have a look at synergies. Like, whoever does this site does a fantastic job at keeping everything up to date with linking synergies together. So as you can see here, it's got the current ones with Joe Fixit. A link is in the description below to take you over to there. Okay, here we are in game, and let's deep dive some of these synergies. Yeah, I do need to sort out Captain America Infinity War. He's just there because I'm trying to make a decision about what I want to do to create a team around Joe Fixit. And we will deep dive into the abilities of Joe Fixit in a second, but it's creating a team. First things first, we have got Kingpin here. Now, competition allows for plus 15% attack while the opponent has a debuff effect. Helpful because most of the time I may be even putting an L1 and L2. L2 for the stun, L1 for the bleed, or an extended bleed on the L3 for Joe Fixit. Now, let's go to HUD. Now, the first time I read this, I was like, crime bosses. Villain champions gain 110% armor and critical rating. And I'm like, well, he's not a villain, is he? But, yeah, it's a case that Joe Fixit is indeed a villain champion, which I was like, oh, okay, cool. Then we've got Furious Nick in. Sorry, he doesn't like to be called Nick. Fury. We got Fury in because at the end of the day, and at the start of the day, or the start of the fight, I want to kill him off. I want to kill him off to get the 20% attack rating. So that could be somewhat helpful. And yeah, Beardo's in because the choices are either science experiment or going a different route. I think I want to focus more on damage output. So what I'm going to do is take the other version of the Hulk, the Green Hulk, and put it in. So that does complete the type of synergy that I want to create around this character. First thing I wanted to test was a synergy that wasn't exactly the one that we've just discussed. So I put together a team around Nick Fury, Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and Hulk. Not an amazing combination, but it's similar-ish with Hulk in the setup and also Nick Fury. But what I wanted to do is kind of see how many hits it would take to do 10%. 166 hits was enough to do 10% on Winter Soldier. Not something I'm in the market to, and I pretty much went, F that did amount, because I was like, man, I'm sticking around to do 1,660 hits in order to get this guy down. So, nah, ain't doing that, and I don't really recommend that. So let's see how much it takes to do 10% with this synergy here. But first, I've got to kill off Nick Fury. Sorry, Nick. Just like Thanos all over again. I think the more that this goes on, this battle, it's going to get more frustrating. So let's just say there's not really a synergy out there that's going to massively make a difference. And it's a shame because I really would like to think that older characters, especially Joe Fixit, could get that little bit of improvement. Granted, this is a 330 4-star that is awakened up to level 80. And in comparison to others, would they be able to do a lot more damage in a very short space of time? Possibly. And even testing out a bit of a trash panda type champion shaped form of War Machine, which off the L1 does do bleeds, similar to that of Joe Fixit, there was still a good amount, not a substantial difference. So probably about 20, maybe 30 hits in difference that War Machine was able to damage output more in a shorter space of time or shorter amount of hits time. And rather than kind of using War Machine with a load of synergies to improve him, I just kind of went with the same one. So even with the same one as Joe Fixit, War Machine was able to damage output a little bit more in comparison. So it was kind of weird to see that a little bit. I was kind of annoyed. Because I was thinking like, man, Joe Fixit's got to get a look in. He's a cool dude, sort of. If you're not familiar with the story of the Grey Hulk, it just goes back to when they first wanted to put Hulk into the comic books. He was originally meant to be grey, but due to some ink issues, he then came out green, which is kind of better. I like the idea of him being green than grey, especially considering that Joe Fixit isn't the most popular character in the whole kind of Marvel Comics line, and it isn't really kind of touched upon quite that much. Here he goes, when Hulk comes back to Earth, he's got this kind of like persona going in. There's a lot of things going on with Bruce Banner, Hulk, and obviously it's Grey Hulk, and obviously Red Hulk. There's so many different things going on in his brain, and as a result, it just goes, boom, there we go. I want to be Joe Fixit, I want to be Grey, I want to be this kind of Las Vegas enforcer, and at the same time, he seems to be more powerful by night, which is, again, weird, but it touches upon that kind of Moon Knight thing. He's more powerful by night than he would be by day. As abilities go, well, Grey Hulk, Joe Fixit, is pretty darn basic. If you consider he's got this kind of like double down, this kind of gambler-esque type thing. It does touch on the like Las Vegas enforcer type thing, casino work, which I guess is kind of cool. But in this kind of day of the grind in MCSC, it does fall short on damage output, as we've seen with some of the footage. Here's where Joe Fixit's greatest assets come in. That's the passive side of things. So you can do a heavy attack in order to switch out what suit you want. These suits are either hearts, spades, clubs, or diamonds, each with different things. Hearts are all about regeneration. Spades is all about putting weaknesses on the enemy, and in particular, fatigue. And you've got clubs. Clubs is like got this kind of like building combo aspect to it. So if you build up your combo hits, it does mean that your critical rating does increase. Not exactly great if you're thinking that your damage output running up to that point isn't exactly good. So yeah, can be seen a little bit weak. But still, you could see some more damage out it being 550. Now, I'm not going to waste my resources on a champion like this just yet, but it is interesting to see if you then, well, if he's at 5-star, that would have been good to see if he was at a 5-star, to see how scalable this is. And maybe Kabam knew that, and maybe that's one of the reasons that he's not a 5-star champion. Will he be a 6-star at a later date with that kind of critical rating increase? I don't know. I really can't say if that would be it. It's very odd Kabam haven't added the champion, unless they felt that that champion would damage output a lot more, but it's hard to see at this point. And then with diamonds, finally, it's increased attack against the lost health, so that is quite helpful. But the constant switching between using heavy attack isn't great. It would have been great to kind of like swipe back and press down, and then switch between different modes, like different types of gambling suits, rather than relying on yourself to do the heavy attacks each time. There's a lot going on for to concentrate with the character. So maybe that would have been better, rather than having it a case of doing a heavy attack or waiting at the start of the battle to get something remotely okay. The SP1, SP2 and SP3 all have different traits to them, except for 1 and 3 seem to be all about applying bleed, and then we've got the SP2 is all about stun. Now, I did find it quite interesting to stack on loads of L1s and at times picking up to an L3 just to see if there was any decent improvement. With other champions nowadays, there's more of an extensive amount of bleed damage, so I would like to see this increase at a later date. Especially considering that on the SP1 with War Machine, he's able to get 63% chance, granted it's only 3% extra, but he does a little bit more damage, and it's 281, except obviously what we're looking with Joe Fixit, it's like 240. One thing I'd like to see is whether or not you could get the champion down to a little bit less health than normal, which diamonds and spades could be good for, but it's playing very much dangerously, especially with a character that, you know, you don't want to make sure all your champions are low in health, but it is quite good in some ways because it does trigger off the mastery of courage. Then if they're below 50%, then they do get that increased attack by 20%. So that is still quite helpful, but I don't think it's going to save the champion. Okay, I just want to pause the game there because this is quite good. Now, one thing that I did want to do is build up to clubs. I didn't get that second thing at the start of the game where I picked up another suit in order to kind of benefit the situation. And that is one downside, I think, for the character. However, though, I must say that picking up a 3k crit, which we did see, based on clubs, does make me think that the champion could be really viable if you do point it in the line of just trying to pick up the clubs by hitting heavy attacks, getting that particular suit, where we're building up the critical rating based on the hits of the combo meter. It is quite interesting to think as well that with less amount of hits, I'm able to, I think it's like we've shaved off now 40 hits off of the trying to get the 10% off of Winter Soldier. So I'm pretty impressed by this, which I didn't think I would be. But I'm not going to go any further because again, this points out that it would mean that it would be 1,200 hits in order to take down Winter Soldier, and ain't nobody got time for that. So to close, Joe Fixit, a possible champion you should bring up to 550, and as well, does he need to be awakened to be good? No, doesn't need to be awakened to be good. Is he a champion that a lot of players will go, yes, I want this guy to have on my roster? No, I doubt it. He's one of those champions that has indeed been brushed to the side. However, though, it's interesting to see about the viability of this guy. If you mix in a synergy between using, say, the Mastermind synergy, where you build up past the combo of 15 and get an increase of attack, then that could be something that could be quite fun. Coupled with the fact that you're trying to build up the critical rating by using the passive ability of the suit being clubs. So based on the combo meter, you're able to get the critical rating up higher. Very impressive, as we've seen. A champion at 330 is a 4-star. That kind of builds up to that point where he's doing 3k damage. As that builds up, it could be quite fun. Increase the attack of the champion, attack rating. Yeah, okay, again, could be quite fun. Does he current meta? Does he put in the amount of damage that a lot of other champions would put in? Not particularly, but it is quite interesting to see if you're building up huge amounts of combo hits, maybe with utilizing the L1 a bit more and putting in all those bleeds, then you do increase your combo meter quite quickly. But I do recommend this character for those that maybe it's your first champion, you need to get through some sort of content, and make sure to then pad him in together with a bit of kind of boost to a champion attack. Then yeah, absolutely go for it. But in any case, guys, hopefully you enjoyed this video. Hopefully you enjoyed the deep dive as we've done. And if you want to suggest a champion, then put it into the Discord, put it into the comments section. I've got a long backlist of champions to kind of bring up and talk about. So yeah, if you enjoyed the video like this, then hit the like button and subscribe for more Marvel Contest of Champions based content. Support me as a creator if you can by hitting the join button and join me on Discord. The links for those are in the description below. And if you want to follow me on social media, links as well are kind of pinging up and down below. In any case, thanks so much for watching. I've been RichTheMan. I shall catch you in the next one. Bye bye for now.